Good evening to you. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We are live from Sabata Desawe Kanda, also live on TV Ghana on Facebook. Coming up tonight, as the world marks International Youth Day, there's a lot that's been happening today. National Democratic Congress has launched its youth manifesto, promising to empower the Ghanaian youth and unlock their potential for sustainable development. There are questions about a particular statement and a promise that was made with respect to education for level 100 students into public universities or tertiary institutions for that matter. Stay with us, we'll have a conversation. Also, the fight against illegal mining, popularly referred to as Galamsey in Ghana, is far from over because scenes from some parts of the country paint a gloomy picture. We'll tell you exactly what's going on. Also, on Manifesto Check tonight, we stand with the youth of Ghana to demand for the completion of the youth resource centers the new patriotic party promised. We tell you the state of some of these youth resource centers tonight. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
The National Democratic Congress has announced there will be no academic fees for level 100 students entering the university when it wins the 2024 elections. The party disclosed this at the launch of its youth manifesto to mark International Youth Day in Accra.
President John Mahama is simply promising that, one, for all university entrants into level 100, you are not paying academic fees. No academic fees for all level 100 students. We've heard many stories about students who finish school with 6 A's, 7 A's, 8 A's, and we have to start crowdfunding sources for them so they can enter into university. All of that would be a thing of the past in the next NDC administration.
The Vice President has promised the youth of Ghana to support their startups and small and medium-scale enterprises when voted into power. Speaking to commemorate this year's International Youth Day, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia says he is confident this will provide skills to more than 1 million youth in the country.
Enterprise Agency and You Start offer targeted assistance to small and medium-sized enterprises and helping them to grow. We recently also launched an 8.2 billion cedi fund to support small and medium-sized enterprises to further demonstrate our commitment to youth development. And these initiatives reflect our comprehensive strategy to foster innovation.
The Electricity Company of Ghana has once again blamed the cedi depreciation for losses recorded in 2022 financial year. Parliament's Public Accounts Committee today had cause to express concern regarding the state of the power distributor after it noted it has in the last few years been recording losses.
Our distribution costs going up is as a result of Forex. Most of our jobs that we do within ECG are all priced in US dollars. The meter purchases, the transformer purchases, the wood pole purchases, and in fact the intensification jobs themselves are all priced in the United States dollars. So that's the reason why the distribution cost has gone up.
The Ghana National Association of Teachers has given the Ministry of Education 2 weeks to distribute remaining laptops meant for teachers. According to the union, the delay is creating agitations and anger among members, which could mar the peaceful industrial climate.
The Labour Commission accepted the deadline given by the minister himself, the period within which the deprived area allowance will be worked on, and also what we have the DD, the promotion from the rank of a deputy director to director 2 and subsequently director 1. We have the issue of the laptop, Then we have the issue of the scheme of service. So these are all issues that the minister himself promised.
Energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Suleimana is urging the National Petroleum Authority (NPA) to find a way to integrate LPG marketers into the cylinder recirculation model that does not require them to scrap the existing equipment and infrastructure. He noted that allowing the marketers to continue using the existing infrastructure saves them from significant financial losses and preserves their investment.
If they could assimilate it into the current model, that would have been great. If they can find a position, a place for them within the chain, the distribution chain of the current model, that would be fine. So I urge the regulator to look into that to see probably where some of these places can be found. Otherwise, we may have to give them a little bit of time.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. Now, coming up next, a compendium of promises made to the youth of Ghana in the National Democratic Congress Youth Manifesto. We interrogate one of many promises made to the youth tonight, the feasibility otherwise of it. That has to do specifically with education, especially for level 100 students. That's freshmen and women. Now, when that first statement was made by one of the young people who addressed the gathering earlier today, it had to be clarified, because then the statement was as though all level 100 students entering universities in this country will not pay academic fees. What exactly constitutes academic fees? All of that clarity we'll get from people who are within the education space to help us understand this. Then there was now some further detail beyond what the young man had said, that now that promise is not going to be for all level 100 students entering universities in this country, but specific to public universities. Now, which institutions constitute the public universities? There are 15 traditional universities and then also 10 technical universities, previously the polytechnics. So all in all, talking about 25 in total. There was this conversation about whether these teacher colleges of education or the College of Education, previously teacher trainees colleges, would also be added. All of that remains unanswered with some detail that it's needed. We'll hear from Jojo Pariado, who is the national organizer of the NDC, who's been speaking to us. But shortly, we'll be joined by two persons within the education space who understand how all of this play out. But first of all, let's take a listen to some of the persons who addressed that gathering earlier today when the NDC launched the Youth Manifesto, the first of it. Take a look.
I don't know if you're excited about the few policies I've mentioned yet, but if you're not excited, I'm sure the next one is going to shock you. I want you all to say with me, no fees stress. No fees stress. What are we saying? President John Mahama is simply promising that, one, for all university entrants into level 100, you are not paying academic fees. No academic fees for all level 100 students. We've heard many stories. We've heard many stories about students who finish school with 6 A's, 7 A's, 8 A's, and we have to start crowdfunding sources for them so they can enter into university. All of that would be a thing of the past in the next NDC administration. The second part of this policy is the Student Loan Trust Fund Plus. The student loan is basically dead as it is. when President Mahama comes back, he would revamp the Student Loan Trust Fund. And all those who struggle after the first year free academic tuition in university can apply to the Student Loan Trust Fund so they are able to continue their education without stress.
Well, so this is the young man who spoke about the education sector specifically. That promise to level 100 students. I mean, that's freshmen and women entering universities. You know, that statement he made is that no student entering the university, that's level 100 students, would not pay academic fees. There was no qualification to it, whether public or private, with what we just heard. That then began to stoke a conversation as to whether this promise is feasible and is actually sustainable for that matter, especially when the question about feasibility and sustainability is one that we are all asking of, for instance, the free senior high school program. So to make a promise, a statement like this, then we needed some clarity. But then again, if you go into the document, the manifesto itself, the youth manifesto itself, it says something different from what you just heard from this young man, right? Take a look at this. We have a copy of that document. When it goes to education, they say they would, among other things, improve secondary education by ensuring sustainability funding sources for free senior high school education. That's the sustainable funding sources. Also completing the construction of e-blocks and expanding infrastructure to guarantee access to all students. And then the commencement of the establishment of regional TVET centers of excellence integrated with fabrication laboratories. Talk about equipping it with 3D printers and so on. And then you see the C, extend free senior high school to cover students in private senior high schools. So now, the promise that the NDC is making is to extend free senior high school to cover private senior high schools. That also brings up the conversation about the cost element and how that exactly is going to be done, right? And this is where the emphasis is on, based on what the gentleman you just heard said. Implement a no-fees stress program to alleviate the financial burden on parents and students in financing tertiary education. Specifically, take a look at this. We will implement a no academic fees policy at the university for level 100 students. Then it goes on. They redeploy the Student Loan Trust Fund to give continuing students the option to utilize students' loans to finance directly their university fees to guarantee the peace of mind of the student to study. So, based on this, we're going to have a conversation tonight as to whether this particular promise made and the statement you just said, and let's hear from John Mahama, because he also had to now put some bit more detail to what the young man has said. Now let's take a look at this, and this is what John Mahama said exactly.
Kids will not come and stay at home for 4 months and go to school having forgotten everything they learned in the previous term. Moreover, tertiary students face financial barriers, with over 40% struggling to afford education and accommodation. And as I recently announced during a visit to the University of Ghana, my government will partner with the private sector to demarcate a portion of the vast tracts of land that the universities are holding to construct hostels for students on campus at reasonable rates. And thereby address the accommodation challenges that students are facing. The professional institutions of architects and engineers will be engaged to provide uniform designs for these hostels and a costing of the hostels that will be built on all campuses, and that will be under our program of a bed for all students to be able to stay on campus. We'll also launch the No Fee Stress Initiative, providing fee-paying support to eligible students, especially through the Student Loan Trust Fund.
Well, so all of the possibility or the feasibility of this promise is predicated on the Student Loan Trust Fund. We know what the Student Loan Trust Fund finds itself in, the state in which it finds itself in now. We've done a number of things on it on this show, on Ghana Tonight, to the saying that thousands of students who apply for the student loan, just a fraction of them are able to get it, and those who even get it don't get the full complement of what they applied for. So there are teething problems that the Student Loan Trust Fund is faced with, inadequate funding and so on. So what is going to be done differently? So when we ask the question about, is it just limited to public university students, that's level 100 students going to public universities, or this is open to level 100 students across all universities? Because that was what the statement sought to suggest earlier. Giorgio Pariado is the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. We spoke to him earlier on 3FM 92.7 Hot Edition. He then qualifies this promise as being limited to just level 100 students entering public universities. Take a listen.
To fund academic user fee for first-year students. And President Mama emphasized that we're going to use the GET fund and also look for other sources of funding. The GET fund, because it's been capped, it has not been able to do what it's supposed to do, and because they've also mortgaged it into other areas, that is what is causing the major problems. But like we are saying, once we assume power, and if we even cut waste, because if you look at the total cost, based on the costing we've done, it's about just 10% of how much we are spending on free SHS for first-year students. Because if you look at the residential, the faculty, the academic user fee for university students is less than, it's about 2,000 cedis for the year. The academic, and we are paying the academic user fee. That is what we are paying, the academic user fee.
So are you targeting only public institutions, or private institutions are also part of this?
Certainly, when you start any policy, you must begin small. So we'll definitely start with public institutions, and then after, once the policy comes to say we find a more sustainable way of funding it, then we can now extend it to other areas, to cover other areas.
So that's Giorgio Pariado, the National Youth Organizer of the NDC, says this policy is going to be a graduated one. So they are starting small, starting with level 100 students entering public universities. Before then, if there is other sustainable sources of funding, then they will expand it. But then again, there are questions to this. Kofi Asare is Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. He's joining us on Zoom, together with also Professor John Gachi. He's the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Hi, good evening, Alfred. Good evening to your audience.
Prof. Gachi, good evening to you as well.
Good evening.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And I'll first of all start off with you, Professor John Gachi. What exactly constitutes the academic fees that the NDC is promising now that the public universities entrants, the level 100s, will not have to pay for that? What's the academic fees?
Well, I think what we have at the university for level 100 or the new entrant is what we call admission fees. And the admission fees has different components put together. So that is what they pay. They do not pay any other thing, except that the hostel and then the hall facilities have been delinked from admission. So when they pay the admission fee, they also go and pay the hall fees separately. So my understanding of the academic fee means admission fees to first-year students.
So, and how much is this admission fees that you talk about on the average?
Well, it depends on the program that you are taking. If you are in humanities, the admission fees for level 100 would be different from if the person is a medical student or reading pharmacy or reading sciences.
Okay, but give me the range. Give me the range.
What I know currently is a little below 2,000 Ghana cedis for those in the humanities. And I'm very sorry, I cannot give you what medical students, pharmacy students, and largely sciences pay. But I can give you an idea about what the students who are enrolled in humanities pay.
I see. So let's just, for the sake of analysis tonight, use the minimum of, say, 2,000 cedis. That's what you talk about, the 2,000 cedis for the humanities, because across all the public universities, as I do know, you have a lot more of the humanities courses being more than as you would see in the medical sciences, or the sciences for that matter. So if we're using 2,000 cedis as the basic for this analysis, for this promise that the NDC is making, that entrance, that's level 100 students into public universities will not have to pay for this. That's why I bring you in, Kofi Osari, because you had posted something on Facebook earlier, and we'll put that on the screen as we go on. So if this promise is limited to public universities, we have 15 traditional universities across the country, and then 10 polytechnic or 10 technical universities, which were previously polytechnics. So they are all within that tertiary or public universities definition, for that matter. Now, based on this, what questions do you raise about the feasibility exactly?
Well, in terms of the financial feasibility, the NDC youth organizer indicated that it will be funded from GET Fund. If you review GET Fund allocations, and if you study the projections between 2025 and, the next 4 years, we're expecting about 40 billion from GET Fund if GET Fund is uncapped. And I'm saying if GET Fund is uncapped because I heard a statement from the NDC that they intend to uncap the GET Fund. So an average of 10 billion for the next 4 years. With that, it means that it will cost a little below 4% of GET Fund a year to fund the proposal. And so financial feasibility is not in question, or it's not in doubt. The need factor. Is there a need factor? Yes, there is a need factor. If you read our student financial assistance report, which we published and held on a conference at the University of Ghana in November 2023 we found that even though in the 2022-2023 academic year, about 147,000, about 220,000, about 420,000 students wrote WASI. Only 32% or so were able to transit from WASI to tertiary. That is against the background of close to 60% of them passing in the 4 core, which was an unprecedented achievement, for which we give credit to government. And we estimated that if 60% of WASI students are having A1 to C6 in the 4 core, it is predictable that at least 50% of them should transit to tertiary, or they should qualify for tertiary. Unfortunately, only 32% thereabouts were making it. And so when the study was conducted, we wanted to find out what are the barriers to tertiary access. And don't forget that His Excellency the President has set a target of 40% tertiary enrollment ratio, gross tertiary enrollment ratio by 2030. We've missed all the targets in the medium term, and as of now, we are still around 19%. And so there is consensus that there's an issue with secondary tertiary transition. And our report established that financial access barriers were the major impediment to secondary tertiary transition.
And this includes what? The entry-level financial burden for instance, academic fees as has been identified by the NDC. But I want to find out, what's the total, based on your own research, the total number of students or persons who gain admission across the 15 traditional universities and the 10 technical universities and the others that qualify within the definition of public universities as the NDC is seeking to have this promise apply?
Well, since it excludes College of Education, it's virtually, we are looking at a number around 115, because the colleges are doing about 12 to 13,000 intake. And so if you take out that number from the 127, you are talking about 113.
113,000.
Yeah.
So if we're using that as just for the analysis, 113,000 students in total, level 100 students in total getting into these public universities. That's the 15 traditional universities, the 10 technical universities, and so on. And then you multiply that by the 2,000 cedis minimum academic fees that Professor Gachi just...
We'll be doing a little in excess of 200 million Ghana cedis a year.
In excess of 200 million cedis a year?
Yeah, 200 million cedis a year, about 220 thereabout. And you asked a question about whether the admission fee was a barrier. If you study and if you read the reports, you realize that within the cost barrier chain, the greatest point of need of the Ghanaian tertiary students is at a point where they have to honor what we call a conditional admission. You have your admission letter, and you have sometimes 2 weeks to pay admission fees to honor the admission, or you lose the admission. And this is where you have to pay your academic facility user fee and admission fee. Everything is currently is about 2,000 cedis for humanities, and the highest is about 2,700 cedis for the sciences, the University of Ghana. So if you don't pay this, you lose your admission, because the admission is conditional. So anytime we see people raising money on social media, and every year I spend my money to support students who find themselves in this situation as much as I can.
Right.
Anytime you see that, it's because they have to raise funds and honor the admission. Other than that, the admission offer expires because it's conditional. So our research established that that is the greatest point of need of the Ghanaian student: how to honor the admission and then meet the conditions, more or less the conditions for yeah.
And Prof. Togachi, here's why I bring you in, Prof, because what Kofi Asare is saying and the calculation we did that brought us to the 200 million cedis a year is just the minimum, because as you indicated, Prof. Gachi, the academic fees varies from one program to the other. And the least is the humanities, who are paying just about 2,000 cedis for their academic fees. And it's higher with the sciences and so on. So if we're limiting it to 2,000, we're getting over 200 million. But that's just the cost of the fees waived off. The academic fees is some form of internally generated funds for you, the public universities, is it not? You rely on it for some form of IGF, isn't it?
Exactly so. And what that means is that the universities may be having some shortfall in terms of the income generation from fees. And what that also means is that the government will have to engage the universities as to how they are going to support them to get that shortfall through the implementation of the policy. And I believe that when that engagement takes place, they assure them of where they are going to get the money, including better management of internally generated funds within the university. I believe that should be possible. I'm saying this because I'm looking at it from the perspective of parent and student. I am aware that we have to revoke a number of students, in thousands of students who get admission but could not meet the conditional requirement of paying fees within a certain period of time. So they have to give way for those who who are ready and willing to pay the fees to come on board. And that throws away a number of students that we should have been working with now, just because of the difficulty of paying the fees. One issue is also because of the time that the results come, because the universities virtually are waiting for the result to come. So as soon as the results come, the university trigger admission process for them, and they are giving admission and giving conditional admission to come and pay. And perhaps that puts a lot of pressure on parents and the students. So they, a number of them are not able to pay and they fall out. So I think that if we find a solution as a country to give some respite to these students to get on board to study, and where other plans are put in place by their parents to pay for the second year fees going, I think it should be something that should be considered. But
hello, Prof. Fortunately, it's that freezing the connection with Professor Gachi. We'll get back to him. So
the reality in the college to manage the faculties and the department, so that will have to be provided, or that will have to be sought from government.
Right. So the entry-level challenge may have been solved or would have been solved by this promise. But then when the students get in, then what happens next? Kofi?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a bigger picture. The bigger picture is that the entry-level challenge is solved, but the student will have to spend 3 more years in school. And bear in mind that academic facilities fee is about 14 to 15% of the total cost of tertiary education in Ghana. Averagely, our costing of tertiary education in Ghana per 2023 data estimates that it costs between 15,000 and 17,000 a year to finance fully one's tertiary education in Ghana. And this includes the facility user fees, accommodation, feeding, utilities, if you're not living in the hall, and also transport, provisions, course materials, everything. It's about 15,000 for humanities and 17,000 for STEM and 17,000 for TVET. Now, so if you look at how much the proposal is taking care of for the academic fee, it will take about 14% off the other costs. But the assumption is that at that critical point, there is no money and you are likely to lose your admission. So the government will support you on your admission. Now, how you progress from me is the most important thing, because the student loan scheme as it is now does not serve 30% of needy students who apply for it.
I see.
The student loan is underfunded. Averagely, an academic year will require about 106 to 109 million Ghana cedis per the current demand. But we are not getting more than 60 million. And so you're having students, sometimes a whole year, a student gets only 900 cedis. You know, right. that cannot prevent a student from dropping out. And so what we need to see beyond this promise, and I've not seen the manifesto, so I don't know what is in there. Yeah. But what we need to see beyond this entry-level promise is a broader anchor through the student loan scheme, where one, a realistic fee, a realistic loan is being given to students that can take them through the academic year. 2, a reset of the engineering of the student loan scheme, such that the loan, which currently arrives at the end of the academic year, ends up arriving at the beginning, so that students do not drop out because of the lack of funding. But Alfred, the final conversation we must also have is this, that we need to also have a conversation around possible targeting, because we all agree that there are many children who will not require this support to enter tertiary. Majority of students actually will not require the support. Okay, and so the question we must ask ourselves is that what mechanisms are we putting in place to target this policy, so that we can even give more than 2,000 as being estimated to the needy ones who might require more than that, so that we achieve a higher level of spending efficiency So targeting for us, at the we keep recommending that social interventions in education, free senior high school,
and so on,
and any other financial assistance scheme must, as much as practicable, be targeted so that we achieve a higher level of spending efficiency.
And it's an important point, you see, and this whole conversation about targeting runs through all the social interventions you talk about and the support systems, even in free senior high school. The conversation about targeting also has been prominent over the period as well. But Professor Gachi, if you listen to the promise that was made, there was really no mention about targeting, as in identifying those students who actually will need the help. So the promise was to all level 100 students. Should the conversation of targeting be considered as well, especially because of what we've seen with the free senior high school policy?
Well, that is, I think it's a welcome discussion, but we do know that we have challenge in the country as a whole. Any policy that we are implementing that call for targeting is either we don't do it well or we allow it to go. And I believe this one will be allowed to go because the mechanism to efficiently target those who are willing and can pay, I think that mechanism is not available.
I see. And I thank you, gentlemen. And the bit about the feasibility, you say it is, but it is the sustainability, then that's where the question is about the targeting and so on that would help us in talking about this bit about sustaining this policy if so implemented. I thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And that's Professor John Gachi, the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. Also, Kofi Asari, thank you so much, as Director of the Africa Education Watch. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight on this promise by the NDC. And we're going to continue this conversation. In fact, as you have seen here on Ghana Tonight, we have manifesto check, and the promises that are being made by the political parties will be subjected to some analysis to answer all the questions about the feasibility, the sustainability, the source of funding, the targeting, and so on, so we get clarity, because it is our money. It's going to be used to implement these promises, is it not? And that's when it starts to the young voters' voices, because today, International Youth Day, we've been engaging some young people. That's coming up next. Now, young voters' voices tonight, we engage some students at the University of Ghana, Legon, telling us about their aspirations, their disappointments, and what they want to see going forward on a day like this. Take a look.
Everybody says the working labor, the human labor constitute the youth. So if they've set aside the day to organize our effort, well, we are grateful. But then once that they've set aside the day to organize our effort, I think they have to also include things that would elevate the youth to the right standards. You know, now everything has been digitalized, and then students are being taken through technological skills right from kindergarten to the university. So once today is a day for the youth, I'm sure we can start giving the youth opportunity to utilize these technological skills that are out there.
It's actually not easy being a youth in Ghana. I feel it's a whole depression on its own, because Ghana as a country have its own problems, and it tends to affect the youth even more. So in the field of education, myself, I mean, it's not easy trying to secure my education and being a young entrepreneur altogether. And so this places a high responsibility on me.
For lack of better words, let me say, it looks like there is no hope for the youth. I mean, if you don't know anybody, then whatever it is they are doing, there is no motivation or nothing arouses your interest to keep on doing it. I mean, if you are going to school, you know that at the end of your 4 years, if you don't know anyone in office, if your father is not a politician, if your grandparents are not so well to do, you might not even get a good place to do your national service. There are youth, many youth that are from not so well to do backgrounds, who are very good academically, who are very good at something, but then because of lack of personal relationship or because they don't know anybody, they've been thrown under the bus.
It is enough. This is a time where they need to think of us as ordinary youths in the Ghanaian system. It is the time where we, the Ghanaian youths, who are not, related to any politician, needs to remember what the youth in '96 did.
This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, getting to a conversation still here on your Election Command Center. So you have the questions about manifesto check, the specific promise about youth centers that the MPP made to the Ghanaian youth in this country. My colleague Dennis Baberi-Wadam has some information on that after this quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. This is your Election Command Center manifesto. On young people across the world and specifically in Ghana, we look at the youth-centered promise. These are youth development centers, is it not? So it's in the
resource centers
for the NPP.
Yes, for the NPP. I mean, they made this promise to the young people of this country in 2020, but the projects that have been listed here were there before 2020. So they actually started between 2017 and 2018, but they were specifically captured in the 2020 manifesto by way of progress. I've always mentioned that this particular manifesto was one that captured the progress made so far from 2016 and then the way forward. So this was how they captured it. And these promises, this promise had to do with the government's intention to construct 10 city youth and sports centers of excellence in 10 regions of the country. And at that time that they were making this promise in 2020, they were at various stages of completion. 10 of them listed in the Greater Accra region, in the Volta region, in the Eastern region, Western region, Ashanti region, Central region, Bono region, Upper East, Northern region, and then Upper West region, 10 of them in all.
I see.
If these were at various stages of completion in 2020, one would expect that at least by now we should have, if not for anything at all, 5 of them up and running.
50% completion, you say?
At least.
At least.
But even if you look at the stage at which they were by 2020 and what has become of them now, you wonder what probably has gone wrong.
So these are 5,000-seater youth and sports centers of excellence?
Yes.
I see. Let's see what the status
Basically,
is.
they are stadiums. So by October 2023, when the Minister for Sports was at Koforidua to inspect, the only one which has been commissioned now, that's the Koforidua one. So before the commissioning, which was in December, the minister was there in October. And there he mentioned that within that year, that was last year, they were going to commission 5 more in addition to the Koforidua one. So by December 2023, the expectation was that if what the minister said was anything to go by, they were going to have 6 of them commissioned. And the 6 are the highlighted ones here. So he mentioned that in addition to the Koforidua one, which was commissioned in December, the Ho one, which is in Volta region, the one in the Western region, the one in the Central region, Bono region, and Upper West region were also going to be commissioned in the same year. That was last year.
I see.
But as we speak to you, you can see the progress report here.
Stalled, stalled, Kaneshi.
Yes.
The Kaneshi one is the
Azuma Nelson Sports Complex.
Azuma Nelson Sports Complex.
Yes, and in the coming days, we'll be showing you its current state. But today, let's stay in the Upper East region, specifically in Avrongo, where one of such projects has also been, well, they say it's abandoned, but I think it's safe to say it's been stalled. And let's see what, the visuals that we got from that particular site. These were visuals that have been taken just today.
Today?
Today, yes.
So this is the state of the what? This Youth and Sports Center of Excellence?
Yes. So this is supposed to be the 5,000-seater youth. But you see, when you look at the progress of work, you wonder why a project of this nature would not just be done with and put to use. So that is it right there.
No, but are you surprised that we can't produce Olympic-ready athletes?
Of course.
And we are just having a poor showing in all sporting disciplines in this country. Look at this. Look at that. So this is supposed to be what? A 5,000 seater capacity.
Youth sports center. So let's just call it a stadium. But it's supposed to be a multi-purpose. It's good for football, has tracks for athletics.
The tracks.
Exactly.
The patches of the land that was built.
But now the story behind this, now like I showed you, this is a promise that was made by government. It's put in their manifesto. Ordinarily, this is something the government is itself.
Dennis, look at that.
Yes, I mean, it's rotting away.
And that's you and I, our money.
Exactly. So this is it. You put this in your manifesto, you start the projects, everybody's excited. Now it had to take the people themselves to beg you to complete it. Now in 2022, when President Akufo-Addo visited the area, the chief of the area made a specific plea to Akufo-Addo that please help us complete this particular, or come and complete the stadium, because they need to put it to good use. Let's listen to what the chief said in 2022. Then I'll tell you again what the vice president told the people just 2 weeks ago in respect of the same project. Let's listen to the chief first.
Your Excellency, the non-completion of the Navrongo Youth Research Center is a source of worry to many in the municipality. I wish to use this platform to make a passionate appeal to you to complete the resource center. Your Excellency, the only team in the region that qualifies for the National Division 1 is Mboma FC, of which I am the patron. So the completion of this resource center will serve as a befitting grounds for the team's home matches, since the facility is a multi-purpose one.
Is to the people of the area. The chief mentioned specifically that there's a team there which qualified for Division 1. I mean, this is good news for them.
Absolutely.
This is a resource center that would have been put to good use and they'll be training there. But unfortunately, it hasn't been. 2022. Now, Vice President and flag bearer for the MPP was in the area again just 2 weeks ago on his campaign tour. He was confronted with this same matter. Let's listen to what Dr. Mahmoud Bamia told the people.
But he has been finance minister for less than 1 year. And we are hoping to continue. But we have come and he has whispered to me that there are 3 issues that he's going to deal with, which are problems that you have. The first is the stadium. The stadium, he has instructed the minister, the regional minister, to write to him. And the minister will write from tomorrow to him, and he's going to release the money for the contractor to come back. So I'm going to be looking forward to this stadium being finished before we vote in this election. So we should get it done.
So Dr. Bamia says that the regional minister should write to the finance minister to now instruct the constructor to get back on site, and that the project will be finished before voting in December. I mean, it's another promise that has been made. We can just, but I don't understand how.
So in the next 3 months?
Yes,
okay,
it should
a
be
little
done.
over 3 months.
But how does a contractor who was on site abandons the site, and now it becomes an issue of the regional minister having to write to finance minister for finance minister to instruct? Under what circumstances did the contractor run away? Absolutely. Or abandon the site?
That's a fundamental question.
But of course, I mean, you can just hold him to the promise that has been made, and hopefully by December, the people of Navrongo
so before December 7?
December 7, yes.
It says this stadium, we just showed the video,
will be done.
Will be completed.
And Alfred, this is not the only one. All these that I've shown you, except...
So that promise must apply to all these?
No. I mean, this promise is in respect of the Navrongo one. But I will also show you the state of some of these in the coming days. And there are even some that are even in worse situations than what we have just seen.
And, you know, it shouldn't surprise anybody, right, if you're watching this, that we are failing, especially at a number of the sports disciplines, all of them in this country. And there was a video that was making the rounds by, you know, young people.
I don't know whether it's inter-schools.
Inter-schools competition. And that's what the foundation for this Olympics preparation that we saw. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. Right? If you see what is happening, let's just look at that. And this is supposed to be the preparation. Look at that. Look at that. Look.
So on days like this, International Youth Day, we need to take some of these things.
This one who even tried to do something. Look. You see? And I think that's not enough. Let's see the last one. You see? And it, honestly, is this not a reflection of the state of affairs?
It really tells how we really do not pay a lot of attention to some of these activities as much as we pay to
and we
really things that don't matter much.
We can win medals at the
Olympics.
Look at that.
She has tried. Anyway, so that's it. The verdict, as always, is with the people on Manifesto Check.
It's a really sad situation, but anyway. On behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us here on Ghana Tech. Join us same time tomorrow. I'm Alfred Kansi. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.